See what happens. Maybe I'll upload it to Google Drive and share it that way or something. All right. So reports interest group. We're just getting into sharing about Bibliamation's report template cleanup project, but I think we'll definitely be interested in following up and asking you more about your current report cleanup project, Susan, at Pines. All right. Tom, Gina, you want me to start? One of you guys want to start? We're just very
I guess we could probably go with like the type of roles that we have for this project because it is like a pretty big one. Like Susan said, with changing to the new reporter, Angular reporter, whatever you like to call it, we would like to take that opportunity to do a very big cleanup project, just to make the goal of like having less report templates for people to choose from because we do have a lot. And I think like what we're doing right now in phases is just kind of like identifying outside of like what templates are not working, which ones we're not using as much, but also like some of the more, I guess, like subtle report questions, like Susan, what you were talking about with recurring reports and how you were filtering that out. We did something very similar with it. We're also in the midst of updating our documentation to, of course, like fit the Angular reporter, and then there'll be some training with it. So I think that's kind of like the base overview of our timeline.
and I think we've said at other meetings our goal has been to sort of have fewer templates that are more broad as opposed to what we have now, which is many very specific templates. And Tom, you and I were talking, or we were all talking, I think, just yesterday about, the possibility of also restructuring the way that we will have our shared folders laid out. Because right now it's sort of by like report type. Like we have a whole bunch of reports about patron lists and patron counts and um, inventory, state report, what the reports that they need for the state. And we've been talking about maybe moving them around so that they're more like by use case.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's, and especially as I spend like time in our help desk. Um, I feel like a list of reports related to patron lists is not helping somebody if they have a project in mind.
Hmm.
That doesn't say, I need a patron list for this, or like what kind of patron list would I need for this? And obviously they can just, um, contact us, but it'd be easier for us and them if they could just find what they were looking for. And I was thinking that a reorganization of how we name these things, or at least how we catalog them, might be helpful for our users.
Yeah, I feel like that would be really good for like training and documentation too, because I think it works well with the inventory project. We've got a set of documentation for just for inventory,
Yeah.
and we tell them these are the templates you need to look at, and this is how they work. So maybe I think documentation for the reporter is so complicated because like you can't document every use case. But if we had documented procedures for this is how I clean up my patron records, and these are the reports I can use to do that, or this is how I, you know, clean up or I do a weeding project, and these are the templates that I do for that. That might
Well,
be
and
pretty
it's
helpful.
yeah, that's really good. The And if it's not every, we obviously don't want to do every use case, but maybe
Right.
just a typical use case, what like
Hmm.
the most common use case would be. Right.
Absolutely.
Writing that down.
That is just something that I just thought of. We share our docs and updated classes. Yeah.
I guess to share a little bit more on like the nah, not really technical side, but recommendations that we also have found as we were moving, which I'm glad that we were able to make this like a three-person project rather than just having one person doomed to this because it's a lot. And we also just have a lot of different folders in itself. We also just decided to do best practices with creating templates for future use. We're deciding, for example, not to do by the date filtering, but by month instead, to make it a bit easier than having to put like an exact date in there. Unless if like a tempo might like call for it if it has to do something with due date. So that was one recommendation that Jessica gave when we were
That's one I
looking
got
at
from
it.
Chris Sharp from Pines.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
So
right, there we go.
shout out
So,
to that. There's no original ideas.
well, I thought it was a good idea, nonetheless, of where it came from. And when it came to just like cleaning up the templates in itself, I remembered like one of the first projects that I did, because I got hired 2 months before the pandemic started. And one of those projects was honestly just going through all the templates and seeing if they just work. And unfortunately, there was like a percentage. It wasn't a majority or anything like that, but there was a percentage of templates that didn't work and spit out some strange output. So we got rid of those. Um, right now, outside of looking for a lot of those duplicate things, like Susan, you put into chat that there's like a lot of templates that just only display one different field than the others. I bet Tom has he put it very well the other day, but of like why we're deciding to also whittle them down to have a template that gives like as much information so that they could sort it themselves with Excel. But another thing too is trying to think of where I was going with that thought. Sometimes like the different tasks of this project bleed into each other. So like making sure that whatever we have aren't like exact duplicates of each other. And bringing it down from there. I'd say that definitely when it came to looking at certain reports that we had, such as the notifications folder that we personally had previously, we decided to just get away with that just because, or do away with that folder rather, just because there is like the notification event triggered log. It's probably not that exact. It's too long to say in the patron account, but you can look up the logs of the notifications through there. So I felt like we didn't really need to have the templates because they were pretty base and the GUI version of it would be easier to look at. I'm also trying to see like anything with like transit lists we could kind of get rid of too, because I feel like you could look up any of that information through transit lists through the administrative menu. Cash reports is like another one. So if there's anything very base that cash reports could probably give a better answer to, it's more user friendly. So I think it would just be better to not have like a lot of templates reflect the base functions of those areas. So that was like where we were going with so far in that phase. And I guess like the only thing I have to say in terms of like just looking at the templates individually is if we do find something that we can't delete because there's like a recurring report attached to it. I've been finding, at least just from contacting people for other things like recurring reports that don't send to an email or something like that, and trying to contact the person who's like the runner of that report to let them know that I'm getting rid of this because you're not receiving it anyways, or if you do want to receive it, I'll update it. But I find that we don't really get a lot of responses from our members whenever I try to contact others directly about certain template reports. So um, we decided to move the recurring report or templates that we would like to get rid of, but have recurring reports to a hidden folder so it's not shared amongst the consortium. And if they want to clone it for their own purposes based off the base template, they could do that.
That's what we have been sort of using some metrics to determine like how often templates are being used to run reports. And I think with this group, we've got a few uh templates that you can actually build to report about reports. So you can look at that at those at that list and see if there's something that there that would help you determine like similar things, like, how often it's used, who's running it, that kind of that kind of information. It's I almost think of it like a weeding project for actual books. But in this case, it's reports. And going back to that idea about reorganizing reports templates, I would be interested to know like how your organizations organize your reports templates, like the share folders in particular.
So we have, several Pine staff that have shared folders, and they are kind of all organized a little bit differently. But a few of us will have like a help desk folder, and then just broken down into, circulation items, patrons, kind of like that, like main category. But something we've talked about in our like cleanup project is maybe just having all the shared reports created from one account.
Mm.
And I think Pines did that early on. We had like an admin reports folder, and then that was where all the shared reports were. So we have talked about that just to, narrow down where they actually have to look if they are looking through that tree.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a lot, I think, or I don't know, that would be another probably magic, thing done by Chris of like, okay, just change all the numbers. So, but yeah, I'd be curious to hear more about others too.
Yeah, we've done that. We did that a while ago. We have a shared account where, a main account called Biblio Templates that's the main home for all of our shared reports. So at the very least, libraries don't have to go looking through a bunch of different shared folders to find what they're looking for, which is helpful.
Mhm.
Um, but then it becomes you have to weed and that's kind of what we're working on now is weeding out that main share the folder or the templates from that main shared account.
Mhm. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. So I am sure we will be moving in that direction, hopefully soon.
Yeah. I can't remember. We set that up a long time ago. So, I think the the way that we did that is lost to the sands of time. But I think it was just I think it was really just like I cloned a bunch of the stuff that was already in my folder because I was the one that was making most of the shared templates. Um, and it was not done automatically, it was done pretty manually.
I guess to help contribute to the topic of how things are organized. For us, what we have right now, and this is just kind of like a base, we have like some subfolders, but we have separate full reports for acquisitions, billing and payments, and then from there's a subfolder for online payments through Stripe. Since we don't have many libraries using it, but there's some. Um, we have bucket and my list reports, circ counts, circulation lists, which are then organized by different filters, like shelving location or circ mod, for example. When Tom joined our organization recently, we decided to add a folder for DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. That we already had some templates that could be used for that we've cloned into that folder. So that one's like kind of new for us. We got a hidden folder where we just put like any strange templates or like recurring reports that are made off of templates that we don't want to be shared, but just tabs so we don't delete the recurring reports. In-house use, intra-library loan reports, the inventory reports that Jessica talked about, the I don't know. I actually would be interested to know a little bit more about the inventory reports because I was hired when they were created. I can't remember what the catalyst was for creating those. Um, or maybe I just don't remember. I don't know.
No, I think it was because like I was kind of on that project because I was, I had all the history about it because I developed or, I developed the inventory procedure based on like what other Evergreen sites were doing.
Oh, okay.
Um, so yeah, the inventory process that we use, and I think it's probably pretty common among Evergreen sites these days, is we have the libraries kind of scan everything either into checkout using and there's the old process was they would check everything in a section in and use the status changed update time to run a report to see what wasn't scanned in that section during that time and that way they could see what was not on the shelf and try and follow up with that. But the current procedure that we recommend is to check everything in with the inventory check-in modifier checked off, and then that updates the inventory date, and they can use that date to run reports to see what wasn't checked in. And I
And I
think
thought what
that's
was nice was you had a webinar for it too, on how you used it, which was cool. I do remember at least watching that
yeah.
there for it.
I think that's pretty standard, but I don't know if other folks have different ways that they do their inventory procedure.
I am waiting for a potential response because I think last when we talked about our project with that folder, there was what was it again that you said there was like some if then logic that were based
Well,
with these
yeah, it's
templates
like
and
if you liked doing inventory the old way, you use
mhm.
these reports.
Okay,
If you like
okay,
doing, or if you prefer to do it the new way, this is what these are the templates that you would use. So,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think we were interested in looking through everything again. Um, outside of that, we have different folders. So item counts and item lists are different. We have some OPAC reports that did bring up some interesting templates that I just never would have guessed unless they're used for statistics, like how many times someone logs into the OPAC. I don't know, I'd just be interested to see like why a library would need that for their statistics. So, but I haven't worked in a library in a while. If anyone has an answer to that, that'd be nice. Just curious. Patron counts and patron lists. Then we have one that's like more for specific libraries and what they need, probably through like a special request, and we don't have like a template that's readily available for them. Request and hold reports, school reports, since we do have a few schools within our consortium. Self-check reports, the state reports that do require specific formatting and statistics to send annually, and then the trash folder that I also had to clean out recently too.
Sometimes
That
you
is
got
our
to dig out the
structure.
trash.
Yeah.
Joanne and Madison, where are you guys from?
I'm from Link in Niagara, and
Oh,
I'm just
very good.
listening, kind of just taking all of this in. Thankful for the information.
Sure, sure. The Spark. Okay. And do you guys, I know we are kind of unique in the way that we manage our templates in that we don't really ask our libraries to build templates because it's it's a pretty advanced skill and requires a lot of, in-depth knowledge of the database. But I know that that's kind of a unique approach to the way that people do reports in the Evergreen community. So I'm just curious if you've got um, if you've got folks in the wilds building their own templates and how that works out. I'm always interested in those conversations.
Link is pretty small. We're 9 libraries,
Okay.
and we don't have a centralized management staff. So
Okay.
we actually do all build our own,
Hmm.
um, and try to share where we think they're useful.
Hmm. Very cool.
We do have all staff, or not all, but a lot of staff do have the ability to create their own. I don't know how many do. I know we do say, we do recommend cloning them into your own folders as like a bookmark. But in reports training that I've done over the past year or so, um, either I'm a complete failure as a trainer, or yeah, it's just I know it's a hard learning curve, obviously. But I think a lot of people don't feel comfortable, which I'm fine with. So we mostly do just get requests to help build a template from scratch or add a field or something like that, which adds to what I mentioned earlier of all the templates with all the different fields, or like that's one off. So yeah, I would say it's mostly Pine staff creating them and not the library staff.
Madison, that's very brave. Good job. I'm also, yeah, I think it takes a certain type of mentality to I'm also very fond of the reporter, even though it's got a steep learning curve. Um, yeah, so it's nice to find like-minded people here. Yes, exactly. Tinkerer. That's how I feel too. Um, yeah, and I know that there are some places who have like tools like sort of supplemental to the reporter. Like I know Pines is one, having an interface that your users can use that's sort of more simplified than what the reporter offers. And I believe Noble has something as well. Just sort of curious if anybody else has anything supplemental that they use outside of the reporter who's here. Yeah, I need to finish watching that webinar or the session from the last conference about the list maker. It does look really nice.
Yeah, I felt like when I watched it, it was like a nice supplemental thing to have for someone who just needs like a quick reference, which I imagine would be very helpful to many library staff for sure.
Simplified reporting. Okay.
This is Christine from Noble. I just want to say that most of our reporting is done through the list maker, and I'm not the list maker expert. That would be Elizabeth Thompson. I don't use it all that much, but yeah, the only thing that we can't get through the list maker are circulation reports and acquisitions right now. But everything else is pretty much done through the list maker.
Was that Mobius who developed it, if I'm remembering correctly?
No, that was
No.
actually a staff member, Suzanne Paterno, who
Oh, okay.
at Noble any longer.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awesome though.
It is an awesome tool.
Yeah,
She
it
worked
looks
I'm
on
gonna
it
try
for
great.
and
years.
link that conference presentation here, and then I'll put it in that um, the community resources folder or the page on the wiki that Susan linked earlier.
We actually lost I'm kind of filling in for reports right now. Beth Willis was
Oh,
our reports person, but she left Noble a few months ago to go
oh,
work in one of our libraries as head of tech services. So
wow. I didn't know that Beth was gone.
yeah,
She
yeah,
used to
we
come
miss her.
here.
Not far, but we miss her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But she took a lot of her reports knowledge with her. Um, and we do check in with her every now and then if we have a real issue. But Chris Amorosi and I are kind of filling in and learning on reports right now. And we were thinking of doing a cleanup and moving things around,
Yeah,
simplifying. It's a big process.
for sure. Yeah, especially, I mean, you've been on Evergreen for a long time. Things just kind of tend to pile up. When did,
I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
no. Oh,
Well,
I was, go ahead. Sorry.
we've been talking way too long. Well, I was just going to say that I think it's like nice. I think in this situation where, if we didn't have Tom on our team for it, who has like very recent library knowledge, working in a library, he brings a good perspective in terms of like what libraries actually need when it comes to reports, because it feels like, at least just speaking personally from my experience, a lot of the templates that we kind of make in a bespoke way is really to satisfy like certain library staff members who need the information for whatever reasons, if it's like for their own reporting, etc. But when we have these as shared templates that everybody could grab, that it could be, kind of confusing with like the amount. So um, I just wanted to give a kudos to Tom for being a good sport in that way. And I imagine if you are, even if you're a consortium, having someone who is directly like involved with like libraries, or even if you are like a singular library using Evergreen, would probably provide really good perspective.
Well, I appreciate that, Gina. Um, I often think that I'm like a negative perspective, if only just because like I know because of what you just said. And so like in a vacuum, like making one report for like that librarian thinks that they've got like the world in the palm of their hands. And then on the back end, or not even on the back end, but if you're actually going through the reports, it's so big and there's so many things and there's so many things that can look like something that you just saw at the top of like a 50 report list. Um, and so our cleanup project, I think, is twofold. It's to make sure that all the reports are working. It's to make sure that the people that our libraries are getting good information, but also that they can use the like actual system. Not necessarily like to help themselves, but it will help them to get what they actually want if we don't have to do this like telephone ticket phone call nonsense trying to like decipher it for them. Um, Again, it just can't all be all about making our lives easier. I think it makes their life easier too, but there's just a lot. There's a lot in there. And I knew it when I worked at the library, but it seems like so much more when you're like on this end and trying to make changes to it and trying to process every report, which we're doing.
Yeah, and and I'm grateful to the pair of you because I feel like I've built most of those templates and
Thanks, Jessica.
I'm too close to it to make the decisions about what to get rid of. So I'm like I just empower you both to just go through it with a fine-tooth comb and
Well, you know me.
get
My
rid of
motto is burn it down and then rebuild it like a phoenix rising from the
Phoenix,
ashes,
yes.
a data phoenix. Um, Yeah, but there is something to that. I mean, there's something to both things. There's a ton of reports, and conceivably anyone that wants to get anything should be able to get it. They just need to know where to look. But they also, because of that, when we've talked about this ad nauseum, they want, um, you know, a specific shelving location from 2015 to 2023 with things that are listed as just available, and also between 3 and 5 circs. and they think that exact report is a report that exists. Um, but it does, but it just in like a much broader context that requires some sorting after the fact. Which again is not difficult, but it's the volume of reports makes it seem like that report should be there with their name on it. And I'm not going to name the name. And yes, I'm referencing a very specific request for a report. But yeah, that's kind of that's what I feel like we're up against now is trying to like thread that needle of making it like very user friendly, but also very thorough and to generate like reports with like good data. So I don't know. If anyone can tell us how to do that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Just
put it in
hold.
the chat.
Mhm. Madison, I'm curious about your experience with the Simple Reporter because we've looked at it, but because our libraries don't build their own templates, when they look at the Simple Reporter, they go, "This doesn't look simple to me." When, from our perspective, it is simple because like it's much simpler than building a template like from scratch. But it's it's been, but it hasn't been, so we haven't rolled it out yet because we haven't figured out exactly um, how to try to train people into that. And I don't know if that's something that you find. I think we've also had concerns about the speed at which they run. Has that been something that you guys have dealt with? That's good. And is that Elizabeth that does those trainings? Oh, Equinox runs some trainings too. Okay, interesting. And Joanne, how long has Link been on Evergreen? I'm curious.
We started out as Niagara Evergreen,
Oh, yes. Okay.
2010.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So very early adopter.
Yeah, yeah,
Like many of us. That's
yeah.
cool. And are you guys in Canada?
Yes. Um, the Niagara, Ontario, the province of Ontario in the Niagara region, not far from Buffalo.
Very cool.
Hmm.
I'm taking the family for vacation to Niagara Falls in April. So
Oh,
looking
fun.
forward to it.
In Canada?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
It's a different perspective.
Yeah, yeah. My parents aren't too far from there. They live in upstate New York, so it's a
Nice.
nice little double trip for us. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are plenty of evergreen libraries to visit in that region.
Yes, yes, there are. My parents' home library is an Evergreen library, which is very cool.
But in the Canadian on the
Oh, in the
Canadian side
Canadian.
as well.
Oh, because of Sitka.
No, Link Niagara Falls itself is a standalone
Mhm.
uh, Evergreen Library, and then Link is a cooperative of 9 libraries in the Niagara region.
Okay, very cool. We'll have to check it out.
Are they all public libraries?
They are now. The original Niagara Evergreen was a community college with 4 public libraries, but the community
Hmm.
college has since pulled out, and a number of other libraries in the region have joined us over the years.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Hmm. Was it an interesting perspective going to like as a start of the consortium being kind of not centralized, but having a community college be like a core client as compared to public libraries? Because I don't know, I don't think in Bibliomation history we had a community college, right? Join
We
us or we
did,
did?
but it was there or I'm not sure if they were had joined us or if they were thinking about it, but
Okay.
it would have been a long time ago. It would have been pre-Evergreen.
Hmm.
Um, they were an equal partner at the table. Niagara College had the infrastructure to host our servers at the beginning. Um, and they were part of, all of us were, had the same ILS moving on to Evergreen and needed
Hmm.
to find something. It was good for both sides of the table to understand the perspectives of academic versus public libraries and the different needs.
What are some major differences with like reporting data for a community college or academic purposes rather than public? Or is it pretty
Uh,
similar?
Public, we need to do, we need to report on certain statistics to the provincial government for funding purposes. The colleges don't have to do that, but because we all managed our own reports individually, there was no centralized talking about, uh, how have you got it set up versus us.
Hmm.
There was more, this is kind of what I'm looking to do, and there was some sharing internally about, I have a report that would do this for you.
Interesting. Oh, I also just wanted to mention what Susan put in the chat. Because I was sort of thinking that if we're going to be moving towards trying to make broader templates for bigger outputs for people to sort, what kind of maybe like questions we'll get like Excel wise for support. And the guide that you put up here from your wiki is very detailed.
Taryn did
That's
that.
very
No
interesting.
surprise. That was all, yeah, a Taryn thing. But yeah, I was trying to find some other examples. I feel like we did have something related to inventory, but of course, since I'm looking for it quickly, I can't find it. But I think that's a good point to have more of that. I'm sure that would be helpful.
Uh,
Yeah,
a while back we had Tiffany come and do a presentation about Excel, some of the Excel tips and tricks for this working group. Maybe we can invite someone else or her or someone else to come and do something similar again.
that'd be nice. I'd be interested to attend that. Um, we're also in the process, along with this cleanup project, of moving our documentation to an online version controlled version. So we're going to be doing it pretty much like how Dig does it with ASCII document and Torah. Um, and because we're going to be having a version controlled documentation, it's going to be easier for us to contribute and take things out. So I was interested to kind of combine the new reporter documentation we'll eventually have for it upon launch. But the more that I'm looking at this, I think there's a really good, compelling case for putting something up with Excel. Like even if it's just like a quick cheat sheet guide or something.
I have a question for you from the public library, kind of on the front lines perspective when it comes to report definitions. Is it difficult because of the size of your consortiums to make report templates that allow people to choose things? Tom had those pretty specific examples of, X number of circulations. Wouldn't it be easy just to say, you pick how many circulations, or a top and a lower number, or you pick shelving locations or whatever? And apologies if that's a dumb question.
I think so yeah, we've done that a lot. I think the issue is that, we have 80 public libraries and 80 public libraries who have 80 different ways to think about how to look at data. So like we have like four different iterations of a weeding report because people ask us for like I want to know by last circulation date. And then another person comes out and says, "Well, I want to know by how many times it circed during this time frame." And another person comes in and says, "I don't want to run it by shelving location. I want to run it by call number range." So before you know it, you times all of the iterations by 80 libraries and you get this like crazy list of templates that makes it hard for people to sort through. And so yeah, we handle each request kind we in historically we've handled each request as it comes in, but then it makes it really hard for a new person coming in to that library or coming into our staff to learn how to manage reports and look through reports without having to ask someone every single time.
Totally understandable. It would be lovely to have somebody that we could ask reports of.
Well, we do have the Evergreen reports at what is it? Evergreen lists at yeah. Anyway, we have the reports interest group has a listserv, so if you ever are looking for reports help, somebody on there can probably help you.
Thank you.
You got
Thank
it.
you.
Joanne, can I ask you an off-topic question because I think I found some information on your consortium. Do you have standardized loan policies throughout all your libraries?
Mostly, yes.
Okay.
For the traditional material, definitely. And we've also in the last year or so worked on standardized shelving location names so that when anybody looks in the catalog and you're looking for adult fiction, it looks the same at all of the member libraries.
That's the dream.
It is.
We've tried.
What,
We've tried.
was that a very difficult project to do?
um, the shelving location project,
Yeah.
it wasn't too bad because it was like you're thinking about adult fiction, nonfiction, children's, teenagers. There's about six main categories. Uh, Amongst ourselves, we have a floating collection among the entire cooperative of large print and audiobooks where we had to have common shelving locations. And so then the other things are just kind of along the side, but it wasn't too bad. The common cert policy came about when we first started Niagara Evergreen, and there were just five libraries at the table where it's a little easier to um, develop common cert policies. But it
Mm,
makes it much easier for anybody walking into any of our libraries.
mm. Yeah, we were just sort of having these conversations the other day, so it's sometimes nice to ask other consortia. So thank you.
You're welcome. Um, our individual two of the members actually merged into one library system. Lincoln and Pelham became one library board. And as part of that, we had to merge our instances of Evergreen and go through sort of a subset of the shelving location standardization. It's even tricky at that level.
Yeah, we have a large system that we're talking about standardizing their locations because now they have them set up for each branch, and they want to centralize it, and that's also hard. It's only 5 branches, but it's a lot.
We learned the hard when we first migrated to Evergreen, we were told to set up shelving locations by branch, but then learned the hard way through reports that that's not ideal.
Hmm.
It's better to have
Mhm.
it at the top level, of course. So that's something that we've worked towards over the years.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what the benefits would be of having standardized shelving locations for reporting. Only because like we don't have that.
Well, we
So I just wanted to see
try,
someone else's perspective.
we try because what we do is when somebody requests a new location, we sort of try and look, we don't have the libraries add them. We have central staff add them, and then we check what they're requesting against the list of what we've already got. But of course, we have libraries that are going to the BISAC model, and they're all implementing that a little bit differently. So it gets and like they're also doing Library of Things, so it gets challenging every once in a while.
I don't know if you saw the 10 tickets that came in from, I don't remember which library, wanting 10 different teen graphic novel
Oh,
sections. So,
All
okay.
right.
you know, just trying to keep it all the same. Good times.
Yeah.
When you want Circ by an entire system and there's only 2 branches or 4 branches, let's say, and you have to log into each branch to go and create circulation reports based on shelving location, that's when you quickly learn that if you have a chance to go and make them at the system level.
Hmm.
All right, let's do it. This sounds
Um,
nice. We're all just looking wistfully here. Like, wouldn't that be cool?
Madison, do the member libraries have the ability to add their own, or do they request it through your staff to add shelving locations? Ah, okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
sure.
would be hard for us to do that because the way that our state library wants us to do reports is that when an item gets checked out at your location, you get credit for that checkout. And so it's like any item that's checked out within your building, you get credit for. So we try and keep them standardized just because so it's not adult fiction new, and then they're having to do a lot of adding at that point. But yeah. So I don't think we could go to a model or at least I don't imagine how that would work. Where the libraries add their own stuff, but anyway. Uh yeah. I could have sworn on the wiki somewhere I had some information about like alternative reporting options, which is where I was going to put the list maker stuff, but now I don't see it. We're almost at the 3 o'clock hour. I'm thinking next month we'll not have a reports interest group meeting. Especially since we'll be meeting during the Hack Fest at the conference. So we'll probably skip April, May, and then ALA is the last week, which I will be attending, so we probably won't have one in June either. So probably the next reports interest group we'll have will be in July. Um, and my hope had been to, for this meeting, do a deep dive into like how the reporter works. but didn't get that together in time. So maybe July. That would be nice. But I'd also love to pick people's brains about like dashboards and things. I know Pines has something like that. So I might try and get in touch with you, Susan, or someone at Pines later to talk about dashboards. And then maybe
We
also tap Tiffany for to revamp her or redo her Excel training.
we don't have any dashboards yet.
Oh,
I don't know if I'm like, oh, am I missing something? But I was about to say Scott Angel presented on some dashboard work
oh,
at the
okay.
why can't I think of
Maybe
it?
that's what I was confused
Developers
about.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I think we did send it. We have those like executive snapshots. I don't
Oh,
know if that and so I know I think we sent him, what we provide on that. But yeah, I haven't heard the status of that lately, but it looked really cool. It was exciting when he was showing it.
all right, cool. Oh, that's good. I'll try and get a hold of Scott Angel then.
Noble has a dashboard. Again, it was written by Suzanne Paterno, but
Hmm.
I think Martha Driscoll did a little show and tell on it at the Hackaway,
Okay.
and I think she was talking to Scott about it.
That was Michelle, you said? Oh,
Martha Driscoll.
Martha Driscoll,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, cool. That gives a bunch of ideas about future meetings. So that's exciting. All right. Well, maybe Hackaway will be the one where I try and do a deep dive on the reporter and we can get some of this other stuff going a little bit sooner. But thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate y'all. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.